At the end of last year, Radon were kind enough to send me over the Radon Slide Trail 10. Now, this was on the back of the review I'd done on my personal bike, the Radon Swoop, 2018 27.5. So they kindly sent me this bike over to review, and I've ended up having it for an awfully long time. Circumstances, obviously things in the world went crazy, couldn't get out to ride it. So I've actually had this bike for the best part of 8 months, if not longer. Let's take a look at the spec quickly before we jump into any opinions or any thoughts. The Slide Trail 10 is the top of the range trail bike. It comes complete with a Fox 36 Factory up the front and the Fox Factory DPX2 on the back. It also comes with a Fox transfer dropper. On my version, which is the 18-inch frame, which is the medium, that comes with a 150 drop. It's all Kashima'd, it's all top of the line. It's a sheer joy to ride. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. With regards to wheels, it comes with Newmen Evolution A.30 mils. I believe that's right. That's a bit of a mouthful, but it's the 30 mil wide wheel. To be honest, when I first got the bike, I thought they were carbon wheels. They look really, really nice. They've been a pretty solid wheel set. I will get to a couple of minor niggles later on in the video, but that's the wheel set it comes. And it comes as well with Maxxis front and back. And of course, certainly for the terrain I ride in, fantastic. I can't argue with the choice of tyres. So the gearing is left up to SRAM. It comes with a mixed match of XO1 and GX, predominantly GX. And it is the Eagle, obviously, which comes pretty much standard on any bike nowadays. Thankfully, it's the GX, not the NX, not the SX, which I believe is the new one now. So the weight is contained within that. And in actual fact, the bike weighs less than 14 kilos. I think it's 13.9 kilos. The brakes are also taken care of by SRAM, which are the RSC G2s or the G2 RSCs. Not my favorite brake in the world. I'm a bit of a Magura fanboy. I have them on all my bikes. It's the first thing I change, but they've been fine. They've done the job, no problem. And lastly, the handlebar and stem combination taken care of by Raceface. That's a 780mm wide bar with a 35mm stem. The first thing I noticed on this bike was the suspension platform. I come from RockShox. I have a Lyric and a Monarch Plus on my personal bike, which is the Swoop. Again, it's a Radon bike, but it couldn't feel more different. I mean, it really couldn't. The Fox platform is just superb, it really is. You get on it and straight away the lack of immediate pedal bob when you're just heading up the fire road is noticeable. Obviously, like any bike, once you get out of the saddle and you start putting down the power, you will notice that bob. But if you're on that climb up to the top of the trailhead, if you're at the trail center, climbing up on the fire track, there's nothing there at all. It's fantastic, and I really enjoyed that. Of course, once you get to the top and you point the bike down, which is everyone's favorite bit, I know it's my favorite bit, that's when the bike comes into its own. The Fox suspension is absolutely fantastic. I had such a blast on this bike, I really did. In fact, I think it was the second time I took it out. I actually went to the bike park on it, and I was so surprised. The bike was so playful and it just handled everything. If you follow the channel for a while, you know I'm not a jumper. I don't take it out on those massive jumps. I'm pretty much on the kiddies side of thing. But I had an absolute blast, and the bike handled everything I could throw at it. It was fun, it was fast, it was incredibly reactive, it was incredibly playful. I mean, this bike is a playful bike. As I've had the bike for quite a long time, I've actually had quite a few questions come in from people, whether that's via Instagram or whether that's via the channel. One of the questions has been asking on those uphill capabilities, does it pedal like a cross-country bike? Will I be able to keep up with my mates? No, it doesn't. It doesn't pedal like a cross-country bike. It pedals like a trail bike, which is exactly what it is. It will get you to the top, no problem. You certainly won't be far behind your mates who are on the XC bikes. Well, you might be a little bit far behind, depending on who you're with. But it's got nothing to envy any other trail bike. It's a great pedaler, and it will get you there, no problem. Another question I've been asked as well, more than once, was the standover height and the dropper, because it's been brought to the attention of a few people that the Fox transfer, at least in the 18-inch frame, I'm not sure about in the bigger frames, it won't slam all the way down. So depending on your inseam, I'm 176 centimeters. I think my inseam is maybe 81 centimeters. I'm quite a disproportionate guy. For me, the seat post will not slam. It stays about 3.5 centimeters out. That's the lowest I can get it. And so therefore, when you are going down steep terrain, it can be a problem depending on your riding style, depending on what you're used to. On the Radon Swoop, for example, my seat was always slammed just all the way down, and that's the way I like it. But somebody actually wrote to me and said, hey, do you know that if you take the seat post out, all the way out, and turn the mechanism that's on the bottom of the dropper 90 degrees and put it back in, you'll actually gain about another centimetre. But that's a minor niggle. Again, this is something that's probably more personal for me because of the length of my legs, the length of my reach, etc. And that might not be a problem for you. So what about descending? I mean, that's where we all want to have the most fun, right? Like I mentioned, I've been to the bike park on this. I've been across all my local trails up in the Sierra, which are, they're pretty technical. They're full of rocks. They're full of mud in the winter. Like I said, I've had this for a long time. Mud in the winter is basically dust now in the hotter months. So it's seen pretty much all kinds of trails. On these technical trails, the bike has been fantastic. The 29-inch wheels have just allowed me to roll over everything. As I mentioned, it's poppy, it's playful, so you can actually have fun on those rocks, you can have fun on those descents, and you can have fun on those corners as well. The bike will push you to go fast. Those 29 wheels actually, if you're still on 27.5 as I am, like I said, my Radon Swoop is the 2018 27.5 version, and I love that bike. But once you get onto the 29 wheels, you notice in actual fact that you have to start braking, or rather, you tend to brake more because you're noticing, wow, this speed, where is it coming from? The Fox suspension front and rear will deal with anything. In fact, I only think I bottomed out once, and that was in the bike park. If things do get really, really rough, then yes, you will notice this is not a DH bike. This is a trail bike. This is built to be an all-rounder. If you want to be out in the mountains all day, if you want to be out in the trail centre all day, in the bike park even, it will be able to handle those all-day sessions, no problem. And it's a comfortable bike as well. It's a comfortable bike. So I actually received a message a couple of days ago on Facebook from somebody in the UK asking, swoop or the slide trail? And of course, I asked him, well, what are you going to be using it for? And the use case in this particular instance was a bit of everything. When isn't it? A bit of everything. Now, like I said, I live in the Sierra outside Madrid, where it's quite vertical, it's quite technical, and certainly when we head up to the Pyrenees, it's even more vertical and even more technical. I'm a big fan of my swoop. It does me proud. But if you're going to be doing something that's really is going to be taking in a bit of everything, and for me, I always think of the UK when I think of an all-round bike, the slide trail is going to deal with that, no problem. If you are going to be heading out to Bike Park Wales, if you are going to be heading up to one of the sort of gnarlier trail centres, if you are going to be out on your local trails, something like this is going to go really well for you because it's going to be able to handle everything. And as I've said, and I will probably say a few more times, the suspension platform is beautiful. I mean, I've fallen in love with the Fox factory platform. And in actual fact, because it is so playful and so poppy and so reactive, I have now bought a bunch more spaces for my swoop and put it in the Monarch Plus just to try and get a bit more bounce out of it, a bit more, immediacy, should we say. So what about the Niggles? This is an incredibly fun bike. I've had a really good time riding this. There are a few niggles. To be fair, they are mainly personal niggles, which may not affect everyone. As I mentioned already, the Fox transfer, due to the design on the frame, or the sizing at least on this frame, the 18-inch, I don't know about larger frames, it won't slam all the way down. And for me, that's something that I need. If this was my own personal bike, one of the first things I would do was have to swap out the dropper, maybe for something that is overall shorter, like I think it's the 1-Up. Even though the 150, 170, the overall length is a lot shorter. So that might be a bit of a downer, if you've spent 3,800 euros on a bike to have to swap out the dropper. Again, that will depend on you and your body type. Another thing I would personally swap out if this was my bike, the grips. The grips they come with, I'm not even sure, I think maybe they're SDG or whether they're just their own brand. They are very, very hard plastic feeling type grips. I always run the SE foam type style grips. They're my preferred style. They help my hands to relax and to stay comfortable when I'm descending. One more thing, and again, this is probably down to my riding style and the bike I own. The front end for me actually feels a little low compared to what I'm used to. I'm used to feeling about a bit more sat back in the bike, within the bike, if that makes sense. Obviously, this is a trail bike, so you do have a slightly more upright position. You are going to be doing longer days on it, perhaps. So for me, if this was my bike, again, I would swap out the handlebars and I would have something with a higher rise on it for me. Like I said, I like to feel just a little bit further back in the bike. So my niggle about the wheels. Like I said, they've been very solid. But one thing I did notice is on the back end, there seems to be quite a lot of flex. And I'm not actually sure whether that's to do with the rear triangle. The rear triangle is aluminium. Obviously, this is a carbon frame. Rear triangle is aluminium, and there is quite a lot of flex. You can notice it when it starts to get a bit more technical. You can notice it. I don't know if this is the wheel set or if it's actually the rear triangle. Either way, it's not a big deal. It's something that you can notice once your attention is brought to it. But I got to be honest, it did actually take me a while to notice this. So again, I'm not sure whether it's the wheel set or the rear triangle, but either way, it's something to bear in mind. Other than that, the bike, the spec comes, I mean, pretty much as you would hope it would out of the box. It's ready to ride, it's ready to go. And in actual fact, just in case you don't know, Radon bikes come in the biggest box bike in the world. So they're literally, the only thing you have to do is turn the handlebar and tighten it up, and it's ready to go, literally ready to go. So the Radon Slide Trail 2020 is actually the same as the Radon Slide Trail 2021. It's the exact same frame. The only things that have changed have been the component specs. The great thing about Radon is they always give you a pretty decent choice between Shimano components and SRAM components, depending on which model you buy. And usually the entry level to the top level tends to go between sort of €2,500 up to about €4,000 for the high spec top end bikes, which is quite amazing when you think about it. I mean, other online brands and especially shop brands don't come even close. And you know, back in the day, I'm talking back in the day, which was only a couple of years ago, when maybe Canyon was the point of reference for online biking, and even YT. Their sort of starting point to midpoint pricing would be the top of the range for Radon. You would really struggle to beat Radon on pricing, component specs, and just overall build quality. It's been a great bike. I've really enjoyed having it. It needs to go back now. I will be back on my Radon swoop. Who knows? There's probably going to be some e-bike in there as well, you know. But if you have any questions about the bike, feel free to leave them below. If you own one as well, if you have any thoughts on the things that I've mentioned, you know, about the seat post, the handlebar, anything else that you've noticed on the bike, leave a comment down below. I know they're just getting more and more popular. You're seeing more and more about. They are getting more and more reviews. Radon is growing and growing, and even people over the pond are starting hearing about them. A great company, they really are. You know, this isn't sponsored. I'm not being paid anything by Radon. They're just a great brand and a bike that I really enjoy using. So I'll leave a link to the webpage down below in the description, and you can go and make your own mind up. They have some really, really great looking bikes at really great prices. And that's it, guys, for today. I will be back again soon with another video. You take care. Hasta la próxima.